Hello, good morning. Hi, what a delight to see you all this morning. Thank you so much for coming. Thanks for coming out on a Saturday when I know that maybe some of the students would rather be still in bed. But thank you. Thank you for coming out. I also know I heard through the grapevine, there's a lot going on this weekend of homecomings and everything else. So thanks for making time and making space for today. So we're so glad to have you. I'm Jen Mason Garb, and I'm the Executive Director of the American Institute of Architects. AIA is the professional body of architects. We're the collective voice here in Chicago of about 4,000 members, architects, allied professionals, students, those on their way to becoming licensed architects, but we are the professional voice of architects here in Chicago. And we have an incredible architectural community here in Chicago. Obviously, we have an incredible legacy of architecture, but just the people here also, just a lot of people ready and willing to support your pathway in architecture or construction or landscape architecture or structural engineering or urban design, right? A lot of different pathways when we talk about the built environment as a whole. And so I hope also that you also feel that if you have these questions, that there are people here to answer. There are people here to answer, of course, the schools that you're going to meet downstairs, but also the students and also AIA. I hope that we can be a resource for you. So this day, the day here that we are gathered for is sponsored by the Consortium for Design and Construction Careers. And as I mentioned, we look at sort of all of the built environment. And this panel today here that you're going to hear from these students, what you need to know to get started in architecture school, a student perspective. We have an amazing group of students here today from 3 different schools. These are the 3 schools of architecture that are here in the city: University of Illinois at Chicago, UIC, SAIC, the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, and also IIT, Illinois Institute of Technology. And they're ready to share their experiences with you. So we'll look forward to hearing from them. And then, of course, I hope you'll all come following the panel at 10 o'clock downstairs to meet all of the representatives from the universities and colleges who are here. And it's your turn to ask the questions, your turn to dig in and find out about their programs in, as I said, architecture, landscape, construction management, interior design, interior architecture, and urban planning. So we want to thank the students. We want to thank also Mark Pearson, who is with the College of DuPage, Jacinta Burt, who is with IIT. My colleague at AIA is Allison Garwood Friedland. You met her as you came in. And Ivan Tejeda, who's here at Harold Washington College and leads their architecture program. And Harold Washington has been such a great partner as the ramp for many of these 4-year, 5-year schools of architecture. Oh, even more people. Awesome. Got some more chairs. We'll make room. We'll make space. So Ivan has been a great partner, and he's going to be the moderator today. I'm going to punch just a little bit longer until we can get everybody settled in. So I think for some of you today, maybe architecture is like you're sold. Like I'm just looking for, like, sign me up, right? Architecture is where I'm headed. And you're gonna maybe ask those questions today or find out from those schools of architecture. Come on in, there's chairs. We'll make space. There's more up here. We'll make space. For some of you, as I said, the architecture, you're sold, you're interested, you're ready to dive in. And I think for others of you, maybe architecture is just maybe a little spark right now. Maybe this field, maybe this profession. Is this what I want to do? And this day is for you also. This day is for you as well. I don't think you will meet any architect anywhere who just sort of fell into architecture and said, well, I don't know what else I might do. Maybe I'll do this, right? People that are in this field love what they do because they love the impact that they can have on our world, on people, the lives of people, and the way that we live. Buildings impact everybody, right? You can't escape building, right? And so architects are very passionate about what they do. And I hope that perhaps for you, some of you, you can find that spark today also. So I think we're ready. Ivan, I'll turn it over to you. And then where can I find more chairs? Oh, okay. 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 That's a great problem to have. All right. Yes, if you want to see, there's 4 more there, 2 more there, 1 there, couple others. I hope that you'll or sit on the floor if you're comfortable doing that too. This is be comfortable. But we'll find more chairs. Maybe I can steal some from a classroom. All right. Sounds good. Ivan, thanks.
Sure. Okay. Morning, everybody. So let's go ahead and get started. Looking at the clock, and I just want to make sure we give our panelists enough time to share out. My name is Ivan, faculty here at Harold Washington College. We have an architecture program. Our students are transferring, so they're here to see some of the schools and talk to them about transfer opportunities, and hopefully that's something we can have our panelists also discuss. So again, let me just be a little bit of a church usher here for a second. If you have an empty seat next to you, can you raise your hand? Empty seat next to you, raise your hand. Okay, so all of you that are standing there and over there, please do not be shy. Yeah. Come on and sit down. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. We want you to be comfortable. Okay. Yeah, 4 seats right there. Fill them up before somebody else comes in and takes it from you. Okay. There you go. Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. Let's go ahead and get started. Let me get the questionnaire ready. While I do that, I'm going to have the panelists introduce themselves. Go ahead and turn on the mics over there. And then I will start with the panelist closest to me, and then we'll work it down. If you can just introduce yourself, your name, where you're going to school, what year you're in, and anything else you may want to share to get us started. Go right ahead.
Hi, my name is Francine. I'm from UIC, and I am an undergrad 3rd year, and I'm from Chicago.
Hi, my name is Jasmine. I'm also from Chicago, and I am also a 3rd-year undergrad student at UIC.
This on? Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Sophie. I am a graduate student at the Art Institute of Chicago, and I am in my 3rd and final year.
Hi, my name is Anthony. I'm also a graduate student, 2nd year at the Art Institute of Chicago.
Hello, my name is Jayhawk. I'm a 4th year undergrad at IIT, and I'm from Philadelphia.
Hello, my name is Mystica, and I'm also a 4th year at IIT. And I actually commute from the suburbs to Chicago. So that has been a challenging that maybe we can talk about.
Sure. All right. Thank you all very much. And on the way up on the elevator, I said to them, thank you very much for your time. Architecture school, very demanding in a very good way. And I know that they got at least hopefully 4 or 5 hours of sleep. And I know they're going to head right back and get some more homework done. And that's the intensity of the program. And I think we're all here because we understand the intensity that goes into the program. So we'll just have a nice discussion. I'm really glad that they're here because they are where you students would like to be. For the parents that are in the room, this is where you can also hear a little bit about the culture of architecture. I know that it might be new to a lot of parents. You don't know what it's about. I ask you to immerse yourself in that culture so that you can better support your students moving forward. So to get things started, thank you for the introductions. Let's start with one question for all of you, if you don't mind. And it goes like this. What is something about architecture you wish you had known before you started your education? So whoever wants to go, either let's do it this way, the end of the panel there, and work it this way. Something you wish you knew about architecture before you entered the program.
I know earlier when we were coming up here, we were talking about materials and how expensive it can get to make your own projects, because the school's not gonna provide those for you. And you're constantly like printing, building things. We have to use a lot of scraps as well. But I think was something that was I wish I knew was how intimidating some of the reviews that you have with like actual architects and like designers are, just because they kind of like, you work so hard on a project and they start picking apart like your design. But don't take it personal, because it is to improve your concept. It also gives you like a better view of somebody that is actually in the career and like they've done it for years. So I would always say like improve your projects with the critiques that somebody might give you, because it really helps improve it. And also like it just gives you like another view of maybe something that you're missing that you didn't see right away. So I wouldn't take it personal. It is intimidating, but that's something I wish I knew before. How it kind of, I don't know, it kind of feels like somebody's like just picking at you. So I would say like be confident and don't take it personal.
All right, passing on. And again, the question, something about architecture you wish you knew before you entered the educational experience.
Yeah. Something I wish I knew, especially early on, was that architecture is a lot more than just art and math combined. There's a lot more that gets involved as you kind of work on the projects and as you kind of develop your skills. I would say one of the big things I wish I knew before was architecture is really about critical thinking and problem solving. You really kind of design solutions for problems. There's a lot more than just, I come from an art background, which was helpful to kind of learn how to express those solutions, but another facet of it is really learning and understanding how to hear from people, hear their problems and how to solve them. That was a big one.
Thank you. Go ahead.
For me, I think one of the things that I wish I knew was the amount of softwares that are available out there. And on top of that, the ones they may or may not pay for in your university. And studios, and I guess all of us can kind of add on to this, that you can use whatever software you like and whatever kind of is niche to your project. But in the end of the day, just be aware of how much it's going to cost you versus what the university will pay. And also don't be afraid to speak out to your professors. They will be more than happy to pay for it. I know a lot of my professors have done that for our class. So don't feel like you have to follow these guidelines very strictly and say, oh, we're not going to by default pay for it. If you feel like you can't afford it or do something, I know all the teachers are hard, but they really want the best for you guys. So make sure you always reach out to them. They're an amazing resource.
I think similar to Mystica, I think the intensity of the critiques can be really shocking the first time and almost traumatizing depending on who you get. I think that it's every single person you can ask has maybe shed a tear once or twice after a critique. But I think something that I've learned is that architecture at the end of the day, most of it is subjective. And I think building confidence and finding your craft is so important. So you always have to keep that in mind, especially during critiques.
Thank you.
I guess something that I wish I knew. I had always understood that it would be long hours, but living the 4 a.m, being on the computer for about 10 or more hours of the day, it was really exhausting, especially in the beginning. I know we started at UIC during the pandemic, so we were Zoom students, and a lot of the day was just like spent on the computer, and that was really straining. I kind of thought more like sketching would be a part of the program. But yeah, there's a lot of softwares that are involved, and like Adobe InDesign and things like that. Those are all things that I think would be really crucial to gain an understanding of before starting this, so you just have some type of preparation.
They kind of said all of it. So now I guess maybe just like assuming architecture is all design. It's really not. It's basically understanding spaces and understanding how architecture can like affect people around, inside or like outside. So it's just, yeah, something to look forward to. It's just not designing. It's critical thinking.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Great insights. And I second everything you have said, and you've taken me back to my days in architecture school. The only difference is we didn't have all the software that you have now. So let's go ahead and begin. We did receive some questions, and we're going to place those out to you. We're going to get started, I believe, with Jayhawk. And this is a question that came in from a student. I'll read it exactly the way we received it, and if you can give us a response. Student writes, I really wanted to study architecture after I graduated from high school, but I have no idea where to start or who to ask for help. How did you do it?
Yeah. One of the major things that I think is potentially a misconception of architecture is that all architecture happens in the city. It doesn't. A lot of architecture happens outside of the city. I am sure almost everybody here has probably an architecture office not far from them. One of the biggest kind of helpful things that started my career was there was an architecture office only a couple blocks from me, running out of someone's house. Basically, their house was doubled as an office, and so it is as simple as going up, emailing, calling, some way. Architects love to talk about architecture. They love it. If you ask them any question, they are happy to answer. They can go on for hours about architecture and what schools you should go to, where you should go, what are some good ideas. It can almost be a panel in of itself of just kind of trying to get, I'm interested, just with starting with the question, I'm interested in architecture, where should I begin? They can have many answers and many paths that you could take. It really is that talking to architects, talking to smaller firms that are very approachable. Often it's one or two people kind of working out of a small office, maybe 5 or 6. They do really help, and they're very personable, and any architect is happy to answer any question.
And thank you, because yes, I am that person that will talk about architecture nonstop. So I'm limiting my voice today. But please, if anybody had any questions, we've got 5 hours. I'll give you 6. Next up, Jasmine. Jasmine, what made you choose the program that you're currently in? What is the specific name of the program, first of all?
I am getting a Bachelor's of Science in Architecture.
Okay.
Um,
And why that program? Why not a different program?
so I actually did start with getting my associate's degree here at Harold Washington. I started as an undecided liberal arts student and was taking a variety of courses. I tried focusing on business, and in one of my elective courses, I decided to take an introduction to architectural sketching. And I had Christine, and just speaking with her over the summer and like the experiences that I had in that class, it really just sparked like a passion that I wasn't really feeling with the other courses that I was taking. And so I decided to really just look into the program and took the shot, applied to IC, I got in, and it's been quite an experience, something that school wasn't really that easy for me and like high school, but architecture has brought like a really nice sense of community, and it really like sparks my brain in a completely different way that I think other programs don't really give you the opportunity to do. And so I found like a love for that, like the opportunities that I got in architecture. And so I stuck with it. And it's been a good experience.
Okay. And there was a follow-up to that, and they were wondering, what do you think is the strength of that program that you're in right now?
I have developed like I've gained like better critical thinking. I'm able to explain myself more, and just touching on what was spoken about earlier, like those critiques are harsh. So you have to learn how to handle and work with constructive criticism. That's something that I don't think a lot of people, especially maybe like at your age, you guys are not really accustomed to those kinds of judgments for work that takes so long to do, like things that you're really like passionate about. And I think that this program just really teaches you how to like defend yourself, but also understand when it's time to like listen and learn. Those are really good things to like hold throughout your career.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Next question. This one is going out to Sophie and Mystica. And for students that are entering a Master's of Architecture program or maybe transferring in that don't have that architectural background, because that will happen, prior to entering their program or prior to entering your program, did you feel like you had a lot of catching up to do in comparison to other students that didn't have, let's say, those intro courses, intro sketching, drawing, things like that?
So my background is psychology. I think with architecture, it is the design of people and spaces. And I think that anything can go into that. So I think in terms of critical thinking, I've really used a lot of psychology and it's helped me. I think the one thing that I did have a lot of catching up to do on was software. I didn't have those years of, help and experience in undergrad. But I will say Google and YouTube became my best friend. There are a lot of resources out there. And it's sort of like language. Once you learn one, it feels really easy to learn the rest of them.
So for me, I think it was the opposite, actually, because I took some classes in high school that had to do with architecture and engineering. And then I went to a community college. And that's where I started to kind of like get more into the architecture program. But it was very technical. They taught us how to work like all the software, most of the softwares, the like Rhino, Revit, AutoCAD. So I had a lot of background in that. I knew how to work everything. But I think when I transferred to IIT, it was more like concept and critical thinking. And it was kind of where I saw myself like being a little bit behind, just because I never really did it in high school or my community college. So I would say like, I think you had to put some extra time for yourself to, for example, myself, I never read anything that had to do with architecture or like books that had to do with like concept and programming. So it is something that you have to put yourself time for yourself to really understand and comprehend like how to approach a problem. But other than that, I think everything when I transferred, it was I was pretty much with everyone on the same pace. I just did feel a little bit behind when it came to that.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to the next question, but I'm going to begin first by talking a little bit about portfolio. And instead of me talking about it, I know that a lot of students coming out of high school, they don't know what portfolio means. If anything, we've heard portfolio related to business, but not to architecture. So Jayhawk, what's a portfolio?
A portfolio really is kind of a series of images and text that describe your work. It's kind of giving examples of the projects that you've done and how you've done them. Oftentimes, a portfolio really is much more about kind of your process and your thinking than the specific projects in of themselves. And so in school, oftentimes during a semester, you will get a project, or in college, you will get a project. You'll work on it through a semester, and then you kind of build up each semester a new project to add to your portfolio and a new project to add to kind of your history and your experience in architecture.
Okay. And then the question here, I'll read as I have it. Should the portfolio demonstrate foundational skills in architecture, sketching? Should it have model making? Should it have drafting? Should it have renderings? Should it contain other subjects such as urban planning, landscape? I mean, there's so much that gets produced. How do you know what to put in it?
I think a portfolio, and especially I'll talk at first about from college and kind of an architecture portfolio, but then also kind of a student portfolio going into architecture school, because those are two very different things. Once you're in the career and once you're kind of doing work in school, in universities and in college, you build up interests and you build up kind of things that you enjoy doing most and things that you really take a lot more time with. And so those kinds of things, if you're really into model making, if you're really into sketching, if you're really into drafting, those things you focus on in your portfolio, because a portfolio, again, is really a self-expression of yourself. It's really, what are you interested in? What was your thought process? What do you enjoy? Because when applying for jobs, they really want to know, what do you enjoy? What can we put you on? You know, what will you enjoy doing at our firm? And then for a student portfolio going into architecture school, that's where you take kind of the self-expression and you turn it up to 10. You really do, it can be anything. On my student portfolio, I put everything from like sketching to, I think I did a series of photography. You can do anything, really any kind of mode of self-expression to kind of show what is your thinking process, what is your thought process, and how does it mesh with the school that you're applying for. That is really kind of a major factor. It's really kind of who you are.
Wonderful. Yes, it's almost a self-portrait of you and on your educational journey there. Wonderful. Thank you very much for that. Next question is going to Francine, and this one has to do with student and school life. And there seems to be a stereotype that all architectural programs are very intense and there's a lot of time that goes into them. The question here is that the case in your experience? First of all, let's start there.
Well, it's not a stereotype. It's a hard truth. It is time consuming. And I know a lot of people can vouch for me. And as for my experience in my first year, I had no one. I literally don't know anybody. So it took me at least 2 years to actually found a community. Well, it really depends because each year, plenty of students kind of like drop out because how intense architecture is. And so like right now I have like a foundation of like community. We're only like 50 people in our class out of like 120. So we kind of like work with each other and have a sense of community. And I guess the following up to the question of like time consuming, yes, it is very time consuming. And so I remember like staying up all night in the studio working on my project and just not sleeping at all. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, and a follow-up to that question is then how do you balance your life, right, with your academics? How do you get that rest and relaxation in there?
We know. Well, so as a member of AIAS and as a person who is an individual worker at the same time, full-time students, it's you can't really, time management is something you can't really acquire right away, but more of like a discipline. So you kind of discipline yourself to be to work on time and just kind of like go with the flow with every like project. And yeah, just I guess, oh yeah, just like joining events and stuff like that, and also being uh present in studio and other architectural classes. It's really hard to manage, but if you put your time, your focus, your effort, you'll pull through.
Okay. And somebody wanted to know also, have you been able to pursue employment? Is that something you thought about or are doing?
Yes, I used to work like part-time, but I sort of like quit that job merely because I wanted to focus architecture. And for me, from my experience, I can't really balance work and architecture because of how time-consuming architecture is. So I almost failed classes because I was working. So I was like, you know what, I need to step up and just quit. And I am like an individual worker, which means sort of like I have like a what's that word? I DoorDash. There you go. So I can like work anytime I want. So that's literally how I work.
Okay. No, there's and it's good to hear that. And again, we're here to keep it real and talk about these experiences. That's wonderful. I'm going to move over to Sophie now, and this is regarding internships. Almost along the same lines. Before we even get into the question, like I did with portfolio, what is an internship?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
There you go. Testing. So an internship is basically just spending time at a company for a couple of months, and usually they really take you under their wing. And it's a bit of a shadowing experience, and you also get to do some of the more basic things while also learning a lot of the more intricate things. It's a really great opportunity, and I think it's really important to the learning process.
Okay. And the question was, should I be pursuing an internship now? if I'm in architecture school?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, network is everything. Network is really important. I think the best advice I've ever gotten is that you're not just talking to people to get a job, but being able to talk to so many people that have the same passion that you do is really, really special. I mean, that's a great opportunity to take advantage of. I've made a lot of friends through just networking, which has been great as well. I think that having an internship is really important. I personally, I'll do it during the summers. I will take off. I usually do 4 classes during the semester, and then I take off for the summer and I do an internship. And I think it's really important. I do.
So when you start planning for that internship, when does it begin? May, June?
Yeah, it typically, it depends on the firm.
Right.
But yeah, typically May, June.
So when should I start thinking about it? I shouldn't wait until May. How did you do it?
I began networking the minute I got into school. And I stayed in touch with people. If there were a couple of companies that I sort of had my eye on, I would like to intern with them. I would start talking to them probably from the year prior, and then stay in touch, ask them to get coffee throughout the year, send them a Happy New Year, Happy Holidays note. It's really important to stay consistent and stay in touch. I think that's a big part of it.
Okay. So a lot of planning goes into it.
Yeah, a
Okay.
ton. Yeah, a
All
ton.
right.
Yeah, you can't just go. It's like going up to someone and saying, "Give me this," without building a relationship or getting to know them. And I think the other thing is it's really important to give back. I think introducing people who have introduced you, or just giving back to students that were like you once, is really important.
And does the school help find those internships as well? I know you're talking about doing a lot of networking. You're on your own. Did you have to do that because the resource wasn't there?
Am I being filmed? No, I'm just kidding. I think personally, I think SAIC does help. I think personally, I chose to
Right.
look elsewhere. I don't know much, to be honest, about their support in terms of jobs. I don't know how much support there is at a graduate level at SAIC. So I just chose to look elsewhere. And I will say that if I could go back, I think it's really important to do both. And we are actually presidents of AAS at SAIC. And I think it's really important to get involved on that note as well, because that's a big part of your network too.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to switch gears a little bit here, going to Anthony and Jayhawk, and we're going to talk a little bit about design classes. You already spoke a little bit about digital skills, but the question is, are design classes mostly digital, or do they still incorporate elements of paper pencil drawing and maybe some drafting?
Yeah, for sure. So my undergraduate was actually in civil engineering. So I had a lot of technical focus. I was just on my computer the whole time. So going into graduate school in architecture, I was very much expecting just to be on my Mac the whole time doing nothing. And the first day, our studio teacher literally told us, put your computers away. I'm going to send you to Target, get like Crayola markers, get sketching pads, notebooks, note paper, everything. And for the next 3 weeks, we were sketching, drafting, concept modeling. So even pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, it still exists. Sure, there's more implementation of softwares. We are in the modern age. We don't want to be, left behind. Everything's kind of growing together, but it's still very apparent. It's still very there. They teach you how to sketch. You're going to learn concept models, making a little 5-minute handkerchief sketch of what they say usually a lot. So definitely still very implemented, at least at SAIC and probably in all the other schools. Yeah.
Yeah, from IIT's experience, it is, yeah, very much embracing the hand sketch, embracing the making something physical. And I think one of the major things that I learned along the process was that you can kind of go both ways. You can kind of, if you really enjoy hand sketching and making things with your hands, you can run with that for a surprisingly long amount of time. When everybody else kind of moves to going into digital softwares and doing things digitally, you can run with if you enjoy it. And I would say this, most professors will love if you do hand sketching, and they love somebody that really takes the time and enjoys the process of hand sketching, you can run with it for a surprisingly long amount of time while most people move to softwares. There's something very special about like taking and drawing it by hand that I think as we move to softwares and as we move to kind of a digital age, architecture still very much embraces that side of it, that kind of human side of it.
Wonderful. As a faculty member myself, again, that is just great to hear because we need that balance. Great. Okay. Keeping an eye on time also and making sure that we get our questions in. This one is for all of you. So however you would like to take them in whatever order. Here's the question. It's very generic. Would you say architecture is fun? Think about that one for a moment. And then students want to know the type of classes that you're taking, you know? So maybe get creative with that answer. Is it fun? And what classes are you taking? So whoever would like to take it first, go ahead.
Just going back to the sketching, right now I'm taking I think it's called free hand rendering class. And I think that takes you back to like kind of where you started as a young architect student, where it's a lot of sketching. I think I lost that throughout the process of my school career. So now I'm getting back into it. You don't have to take, well, at least at IIT, there's a lot of classes that you might feel like they might be personalized for you. I think this like free rendering class is really bringing me back to like kind of where I started. And now I'm learning how to like whatever I see, just to do it in proportion. It teaches you like the technical side of it as well. But now I wouldn't say that now they're ugly, but now they're making a little bit more sense. They look a little bit more realistic. And it's just like they were saying earlier, like it just gives them a little bit of a personal touch to the drawings. So if you're really into like drawing, sketching, I would say like those are some of the classes you might want to look forward to, because it doesn't necessarily need to be all like math related or like engineering related. So I guess just really look out for what your school offers and what classes you can take.
Okay.
I would say that architecture is really fun. I think it's a really good confidence builder too, just to sidestep for a second, because I think it's built my confidence a ton. I think especially through those critiques, it's sort of like, well, what's the worst that could happen at this point? Or what else could go wrong? So you feel really confident when speaking. And you sort of build confidence in your design. And I think there's something really rewarding about that. Just doing a good job and being so accomplished in something that is so difficult. And also I think the camaraderie in studios is really fun. I had one of my models, the glue started lifting and the model started bending. So 3 of us sat on it for like an hour and just ate Doritos and just waited until it dried and stayed down. So just classic. But yeah, so I think it's a really good time. I think it is very intense, but I think also have fun with it because it's a really special job. It's really, really special. So.
Yeah, I definitely would agree that architecture is difficult, but it's extremely fun. And for me, really, the community that I get from being in class, it's the exact same experience. We're all like, I think sometimes you almost expect like a competition, but that's not really what we have in our experience. Like we're all wanting to see each other succeed. We all want our projects to work. We don't want, the person on the team next to us just like have something that's crumbling apart. And just to answer like the types of classes that we take in reference to architecture, it's like a lot of analysis and theory. We do a lot of like contemporary learning, contemporary architecture classes. Theory, technology, analysis. And then all studio is just about understanding space and the relationship with humans and program designs, things like that.
I think architecture is fun merely because I'm in an organization called AIAS, which stands for American Institution of Architecture Students. And we sort of like go to firm tours like every every other week. And I think it's a fun experience, and also interacting with other people that are really wanted to be an architect, and just, you know, having the sense of community, like Jasmine said, which gives you like sort of like energy and just pure happiness, I guess. But yeah.
Hard to put it into words. I know what you mean.
Yeah,
I know what you
yeah.
mean. Yes. Okay. Two more panelists go.
For me, honestly, it's a huge creative outlet. You have a generic kind of proposal that you have for studio, and you can kind of take that in whatever direction you want. I know for our first semester studio, Marina City, or the Corn Cob Towers of Chicago, we were asked to implement a new office space for the Friends of the Chicago River, a nonprofit. And some of us went really technical, and one of my friends literally made an upside down mushroom, and they stored all the office space in there. So don't be afraid to be creative. Like, you are paying for this institution. You are, developing your portfolio, your style. This is like what people want to see. Have fun with it. It is a lot of work, but in the end of the day, you're going to be as content with your work as much time you put into it. So definitely run free.
Just to start off, yes, it's fun. It has to be. For the amount of hours that we spend working on it, it has to have kind of be rewarding and is fun. I would say for me, one of the best advice I got from my professor this year was, in architecture, you have to kind of find and track your own fun, because it's different for everybody. Some people really love the hand sketching, some people really love the modeling, some people really love the technical details that some people do, apparently. I don't really know, but the you have to kind of find and track your own fun and go, yeah, I really enjoy doing this part of it, this section, I want to spend more time doing that. For instance, finding my own fun. This semester, I'm taking a class called Alternative Chairs. It is taking interesting materials that you wouldn't necessarily put into a chair normally, and making chairs out of it. It can really go any range of things, from cardboard to, I think somebody's using used Dorito bags, actually. It can go really any direction. And you'll find yourself in kind of strange classes where you don't really know what the topic is going to be about in the end. But you find a lot of fun in it, and it really is kind of a personal journey of just kind of creative expression that kind of Anthony was talking about.
Go ahead. Yeah.
More thing,
please,
sorry.
please.
I think also one more thing that I've learned is, don't be too hard on yourself. You're not going to be good at everything. You can't be. There are people who have been in this industry for years who will tell you that they're still struggling with certain things. I'm going into my final year and I cannot cut a straight line for the life of me. And I don't think that will ever change. So I just, it's okay to not be good at everything. And just know what you're good at and be okay with that and focus on that.
And with that said, right, and in an effort here to build up that self-confidence, what are you good at? What do you see yourself saying, yes, this I can do? Maybe not cutting the straight line, but what are your strengths that you can share with others?
Yeah. Okay. I would say that my strengths are problem solving. I feel pretty confident in that at that point, or at this point, and I'm really proud at how far I've come with software, considering I didn't have it as my background. I feel really comfortable in Revit. I can produce a whole building now, which is great. I think 2-3 years ago, I would not have been able to do that. And so I think final production and just critical thinking is what I feel like I'm good at.
Wonderful. No, thank you for sharing that. I'm looking at the clock, and we have a good amount of time. There's one more question, but before I get to that final question that we have on the list here, I'm going to improvise a little bit here, because I'm looking out at the crowd. And as I said earlier, there are a lot of parents, a lot of family members here in support of your students that are studying architecture, and maybe you don't know how to reach out to them. So I'm going to ask the panel, either any or all of you, like, what advice would you give to the family members here that just don't know how to be supportive, don't know what to say, don't know what to do? What can they do to let their students know I'm there for you and I understand you're, putting in a few extra hours here or there. What words of wisdom do you have, and maybe some personal experiences in your home? And again, improvising here just a little bit. So whoever would like to take that one.
Definitely for me, words of encouragement and, parents, everyone, just let them know that their ideas are obviously like unique and genuine. And for me personally, for my first critique, everyone loved my project. And for the second one, I didn't change anything and they all hated it. So just know that it's a personal take for everyone, and just like tell, your family members that are involved in architecture who want to do it, saying, keep doing what you're doing. Don't be discouraged by a single voice, because there's so many people in this world, so many industries, like so many architecture firms. There's a place for everyone, and just to let them, keep reminding them of that, and also know that they're going to be working a lot. It's going to be pretty stressful. Don't always ask them like, oh, like, make sure you study, make sure you're doing this, make sure you eat it, because they will literally kill you. Like, they know what they're doing and they know it's difficult. Don't add the pressure, just be that voice of reason in that hands, because they'll really appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly feel like words of encouragement are needed, but I think we need space more than anything. Like it does take a lot. It's a lot of just like focusing. And I know that like some parents don't like really watching their kids stare at a computer for long hours of the day, but it is necessary. And I think like in my own personal experience, I stay at studio so long because I get that ability to concentrate. And whereas when I get home, I think my mother is like, "Oh, I haven't seen you in so long. Let's talk for like 2 hours." And I'm like, "But I have like more homework that needs to be done." I just think that like space is so important. Um, it really is. Even if they can't ask for it, it's
I'm 28 and I'm married and I still go home and cry. So I think that sometimes just a hug, or I think when you're in a bad mood, you don't always want advice. Just being like, that it's really tough and I get it and I'm here, just a listening ear. I think is really, really helpful.
Anyone else?
One major thing from kind of parent to student is I would say there's a range of personal boundaries and kind of talking about with space, but also there is kind of this side of it that like this project, and this is kind of talking more towards kind of the end of the semester after potentially a winter break or like a summer break, like visiting back home or something like that. I would say once the project is done, it's done. They don't want to talk about their projects. I mean, sometimes, if the student brings it up, it's like fine, but I would say don't try to grill them on their project. They just spent probably a couple days ago hours stressing about for a review or a critique that um uh, maybe they don't want to talk about their project 24/7. They just finished it. They're it's out of their mind. They want to be done. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Just want to make sure. Okay. All right. Financial support. We won't go there. But I do know that it's always helpful to have that too. Anyway, all right. Final question as we wrap up here. We've got 5 minutes or so. The students are going to be heading downstairs and they're going to be meeting with the school reps. What should they ask? I mean, they're here, right? They want to study architecture. What are some questions you think would be helpful for them to approach the reps about? And how many reps should they see? There's 50 of them down there. So we'll go, I'll take it in order, whichever side we want to start with. If each one of you can address that.
I was just gonna say, really look at all the schools, because when I was in school, I think my only choice was U of I, and I didn't get into it when I started. I got into it when I was in high school, but not when I was trying to transfer from a community college. So that was kind of hard because it seemed like it was my dream school, and all of my other friends were going to U of I, and I was the only one that didn't. So I was the year behind just because I didn't have any other information about other schools. And I would say too, if you're gonna transfer from like a community college, I'm always gonna promote community colleges. I think they're great. Ask which credits are gonna transfer. Just because I was lucky that most of my credits were transferred to IIT. I transferred as a second year student, but technically I was a third year student, just because I was ahead of other classes, but maybe not my design studio. So I would really suggest that if you're thinking of going to a community college first, really see which schools is going to take the most credits, because not only is it going to save time, you're going to graduate on time, but it's also going to save you a lot of money.
One of the major questions I would ask all the school representatives and any kind of school that you're talking to is, what is their design focus? I would say each school has kind of a niche that they focus towards. Yes, every architecture school, you can get an amazing degree and an amazing experience. But what is that school's focus and what are that school's interests? Because you can kind of tune yourself to a school that has similar interests as you. They all have their kind of specific focus or interest, and finding what aligns well. Like for me, IIT really aligned with some of my interests in model making and kind of hand drafting. But it could be different at any other school, and it could be similar. It's really more about asking the school representatives and saying, hey, I'm interested in this. What is the school's interests? How does that kind of align with me?
For me, two things. One of them is class flexibility. Definitely have the opportunity to be exploring other things within architecture. I know for SCIC, we have a historic preservation department. And even though I'm doing my master's in architecture, I also have enough time in class allotted to be pursuing a historic preservation certificate. So definitely ask that about them. It definitely expands your horizons on a lot of other levels. And two, know about the softwares they offer. What do they have like prepaid for you? I know that's like sometimes an awkward and like scary question, because you want to like seem the best like person and be like, oh, I'll go to you no matter what, even if it costs 300K or something. Like, but seriously, like they have those things there. Ask them like, what do you pay for? What softwares you provide? What do I have to get? Do you have a stipend for computers? Like, get into the nitty gritty. They will appreciate that more. So, yeah.
I would say, so this is the networking thing I was talking about. So talk to as many schools as you can. And then ask them for if they have a card, or ask them for their email, and follow with the schools that you like, follow up. Send them an email, say it was really nice to meet you, etc. With questions, I would say, what everyone else has had, I reiterate that. And also social groups such as things like AAS, there's INOMA, there's other groups. Ask what they have. I think getting involved is really important, because building a sense of community, you don't want to feel alone in architecture. And if you put in even an ounce of effort in studio, you won't. So I think it's really important finding groups that you feel supported in, finding your support system. So ask about their groups. Yeah, that's actually what I was going to suggest. Talk about the organizations that they have, but also like try to get an understanding of what the classes will actually look like, feel like, what their focuses are. But yeah, I think, outside of obviously wanting to be a student in the school, learn about those organizations. And AIAS has like membership programs for like third year and higher that you can help get like mentorships and things like that. Like there's opportunities that are available. You just have to know about them. And I think that's a big problem with a lot of the students. They go into this program because they enjoy it, but they don't really know about what happens next. And that would be something to try to have an understanding of before even getting into the program.
And for the students who needed like financial help, I would suggest ask for scholarships. If there's architectural scholarships, you need to write that down. I personally am relying on FAFSA and scholarships. So basically I don't pay for anything. So scholarships is really important.
And you stole that last one from me. That's wonderful. No, I'm glad. I am so glad. I was thinking somebody please say it. These schools want you to be their students. So everything that was mentioned by all the panelists, right? Why do you want me as a student? Think of it that way. Wonderful. So we are at the 10 o'clock mark here. So I really, before we pack things up, really want to thank all of the panelists for being here, all of their insight. Wonderful. Give them a round of applause. Yes. And I'm so glad that we have Career Day and we have a panelist of students because they're about just a few years ahead of you and they are where you want to be, where you will be. Feel free to talk to them, ask them some questions, follow up. Here's your chance to network with them, maybe exchange numbers. They can stay in touch with you. Who knows, right? A lot of things can happen. So on that note, thank you all for being here, listening. And I do want to make sure to let all of you know that there are only 4 elevators. So it's going to take just a little bit of time. Be patient to get all of us downstairs. I want to also remind you to make sure that you did sign in. There are QR codes for you to have registered so we can get some information your way. And in terms of reaching out to the schools, every one of the schools, and I'm sorry, don't mean to turn my back on anybody. Every one of the schools will have a QR code at their table. Scan, let them know that you were there and they can follow up with information for you. And if a school is a little bit busy today, because that will happen, walk around, visit other schools, and then come on back. The whole event is going to go from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. So there's a lot of time for you to visit. So I hope you enjoy the opportunity to check in with all the schools. And thank you everybody for being here on behalf of AIA, on behalf of the consortium. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And again, thank you panelists. All right, everybody have a wonderful day today. Thank you so much.